Hey, welcome to the class, everyone. We always like to start class with a little bit of a joke, of course, and tonight Leah has the joke. Go ahead, Leah.
All right. So, for those of you who watch every show, you might have seen this joke before. Long time ago, though. Um, so there's this monk who goes to a hot dog stand, and the hot dog, stand chef is like, "What can I get for you?" And the monk is like, "Make me one with everything."
Classic, classic joke right there. Classic spiritual joke.
Ah.
Make me one with everything. That is the impulse that we're all following here. That's brought us to meditation. I'm Dr. Asatar Bear. My lovely co-teacher Leah Schaefer. We do this class every week,
Hello.
and we have a whole backlog now. We've been doing it for just about a year. So if you like what we do, check it out. And if you want to support the show, you can click on our Patreon link there. That's in the description. Um, this is Heart Rhythm Meditation. Heart Rhythm Meditation comes out of the tradition of Sufism, the Sufism of Hazrat Inayat Khan, a great Sufi master who taught
Mm,
in the West. Uh, and it has a kind of a unique approach to meditation. The kind of meditation that we do focuses on the breath and the heartbeat. Um, and it has a kind of a different philosophy than something sometimes what you find in other traditions, or maybe just a different kind of emphasis, right? Because it's sort of like meditation is meditation, right? There's a lot of big common themes. Um, but we always think a lot about how can we help with pressing issues that people have, because
mhm.
meditation should make your life better, right? It should help you with your problems and issues and your struggles and all of this, right? It should help you to grow. Um, and that's certainly like what we've experienced here, right? Um,
Yeah.
that's why we do that.
Yes. There's a reason I've dedicated my life to this, okay? So just so everybody knows. Really helpful on all levels. So,
Very powerful. We have a little message hello here from our friend Akbar.
oh, Akbar Caduce, AQ, welcome to the show. Thanks for
Nice to
being
see you.
here.
Well, so this week we want to talk about grief and healing grief, and this is a thing that we're all going to have to deal with at one time or another, right? Maybe you're dealing with it now, maybe you've dealt with it in the past, or maybe it's in your future, right? But like, if you're lucky enough to really care about somebody, there's going to be a moment where you lose them. And how do you deal with that? How do you heal that? How do you move on? You know, um, a heavy topic, right? But
Mm,
we don't want to shy away from that. Like this
yeah,
meditation is not like all bliss, right? Because it's life, right? Life is not all bliss.
right.
Um,
And especially, sorry, especially when it comes to the heart,
yeah,
we proactively focus on our heart in this meditation. And the heart is composed of all the opposites. And so when our heart loves big, that means our heart's going to feel big pain. And this is something I'm very familiar with experiencing and going through and transmutating within myself. And it's probably one of the most fruitful experiences I've gained through meditation is this ability to integrate and reconcile these opposites within my heart without shutting my heart down. And so Asatara and I wanted to talk specifically tonight about one way in which you can use meditation to help you through the process of grief and of coming to the other side of that grief.
absolutely, yeah. And beautifully said. We think about meditation as having steps to it, as having stages, as having these different states that you get into, and you want to develop skill at getting into these states, right? Those are fundamental skills of meditation as an activity, right? So,
Hmm.
the the first step is to concentrate, to focus your mind, right? And a lot of times, this is like what all people know about meditation, because this is the part of it that's become like really famous, right? Like concentrate, focus, be present, right?
Mhm.
Be with what's happening now. That's concentration, right? Sometimes it's called mindfulness. If I want to be fair to that, it adds a kind of non-judgmental attitude towards it, right? Like be with what's happening now and don't judge it, right? That's kind of like in a nutshell, right? Um, so this is good, right? This is a foundational kind of skill, focusing your mind on what you're doing right now, right? And this is a
Mhm.
step towards unity, right? It's not all the way, but a lot of times what we know is that what we're doing now and our mind are like not in the same place, right?
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Just holding your focus for an hour for this show is incredible, actually.
I mean, we make it easy because we're so charming, and you want to talk and whatever, but like the good vibes that come makes it a little bit easier.
Um,
You have to
yeah,
follow what we're saying. Yeah, that's difficult,
yeah.
right? Your mind wants to
And
do
so
other things.
yeah, and so with heart rhythm meditation, what constant the first step. So it's also just to reiterate for all our listeners, we're talking about grief tonight, but we're going to talk about using unity consciousness in order to really meet that grief in a way where you feel like nothing else can help you right now. And this is an energy that can be very, very helpful in that process of integrating your loss. And so Asatar's going over how do you get there, okay? So there's stages in your meditation practice to be able to get to this euphoric state. People talk about it as enlightenment. People talk about it as nirvana. Those are the more common words that people have probably heard. But unity consciousness experiences and states are very doable. You can achieve them, you can experience them within yourself, but you have to put in the work for sure. And the first step is concentration, and that Asatar was just referring to. And with heart rhythm meditation, what that looks like is concentrating on your breath, being with your breath the whole time, the whole way through, concentrating on your heartbeat, feeling your heartbeat the whole way through. So you're bringing your concentration, your focus, which is usually outside for all the stimuli, and you're bringing it in, you're bringing it home,
Right.
and you're using these two fundamental things. So that's the first stage of this concentration that Asatar was just talking about. So please continue.
Concentration, exactly, right. So with grief, right, to bring this around to our topic, right? Like what does it mean to concentrate on, the grief that you're feeling, right? Well, it means like, okay, you acknowledge that it's happening, right? You tap into it, right? You focus on it, right? And here's the thing, right? A lot of times the pain that we're feeling is really about us, right? It's about
Mhm,
I have lost this beloved person or being to me, right? And how can I go on, right? It's very focused on the self, right? Um, and which is fine, right? We just want to acknowledge that, right? And just say it's, that's a lot of where the pain comes from, right? It's not so much focused on externally, right? It's focused on the self, right? Um, so we know that this is an important cornerstone, right? But we know that there's more to it, right? Because when you concentrate on something really intently, um, it has a way of opening up. You get into a flow with it, right? And this has often been called a flow state. Um, and this is discussed in meditation, right? In these ancient texts, like the Yoga Sutras, for example, um, as a state of where concentration becomes easy, right? It's a state of flow where you feel connected. You feel
mhm,
this, you know, absorption in the activity, right? Where you lose the sense of self, the sense of self that was so prominent when you're concentrating, right? Gets kind of lost, right? You're not self-conscious when you're in this state, right? Um, it's like in sports. I don't know our viewers here, I don't know if y'all play sports, right? But when they say "be the ball," right, that
Mm.
has no meaning, right? When you think about it from an individual self perspective, right? But it makes a
Mm.
lot of sense when you're in this state of flow. You're like, yeah, man, like I'm myself and I'm the ball, and the whole team is acting in harmony together, right? And you just kind of
Mm.
get into that vibe and flow with that, right? It's
Mhm.
fantastic, right? And then an hour passes like that, right? Like because instead of sweating to maintain your focus the whole time, your focus just kind of happens, right? You get into the groove, right? Like a river doesn't have to focus on following its channel, right? Like it's flowing down. That's it. That's
Mhm.
its nature, right? Um, so we want to develop the skills in meditation to get into this state, right? So we start with concentration, but we want to develop our breath. We want to develop the rhythm of our hearts. We want to
Mhm.
develop the whole practice, right? Our ability to just sit, right? Our ability to breathe, our ability to get into the rhythm of this, right? That's why we call it heart rhythm meditation, right? It's like music does this, right? Music sweeps you along, like if you play music or even if you just listen to music, right? You ever experience that moment where you're just swept along by it, right? And how
Mhm.
wonderful that is. Um,
Mhm.
that's the thing where it starts to, really like become music, right? Not like just some collection of notes or something like this, right? So, there's concentration and there's flow, right? And when we think about, well, how does it relate to our topic of like, grief and healing that, and whatever, right?
Mm.
Well, now you're focused more on the connection, right? So there's still, there's you, but you're less focused on that, right? You're focused on, okay, here's this connection that we have, right? Um, and the thing is, that connection is still there, right?
Mm.
Amazing, right? You lost the
Mm.
person, the connection is still there. It's still in your heart, right?
Yeah,
Um,
your hearts are still connected. They still live inside of your heart.
and that's amazing, right?
Mhm.
Can you get into that? Can you feel that, right? That's a living thing, right? What when that already opens that opens you, because when you're focused on yourself and your own pain, that's it's difficult partly because it's so limited. um
And you're also when you so the I mean the pain is a lot of different things, but part of the pain is that feeling of separation.
yeah,
And so by going into deeper parts of yourself where you can feel that connection, that never ending bond that you've created with this other heart, that's when you can actually access the other side of the coin of the pain, which is the love. And the
yeah,
thing is, too, with grief, most of the time, it's like that concentration bit. You don't have to necessarily work on that really hard because you can't stop thinking about it.
right.
And why can't you stop thinking about it? It's because of love. And so love is really what connects us. And so in whether it's for grief or something else through these three stages of meditation, through the first stage of concentration, how do you learn how to concentrate on something vividly? You use your emotion, and so you use your love inside your heart. You're actually trying to solve a problem for yourself. You're not just sitting down to breathe. You're sitting down to experience yourself at a depth and a level that will blow your mind. And
Ab-
so just to reiterate that love is a big, big factor in getting into states of meditation that are a progress forward, for getting into those benefits that we read about all the time in
yeah.
meditation.
And
Yeah.
we want to like just also mention that getting into this state does not mean that the pain goes away, right? But we're talking about a broadening and deepening and enriching, right? So, you know,
It's a process. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a process. It takes time. I kind of look at it like I'm emptying buckets when I go through something really difficult. I look at it like I have this bucket and I have to get through this bucket today, but there might be more buckets after this one. So, like, however many there are.
buckets of pain, you know? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, so just, like, it's a process, it takes time. Mm,
yeah, and it has its own time. We're so like
mm,
focused on like rushing through things, like our culture, right? Is like, get through this, like why can't you just
mhm.
get over this like this, right? Um, but grief's on its own time scale, right? So it doesn't obey that at all, right? And a lot of times we're
Mhm.
frustrated by that. We're like, well, I should blah blah blah, I should feel this or I should feel
Or
that, right?
just wanting relief from it,
Yeah,
right? Just, like, straight up wanting relief from it, like and that's actually part of the reason in these moments that we will actually avoid ourselves and avoid our hearts. We will try to distract ourselves, we will try to get out of ourselves,
right.
and it's probably one of the harder in some ways, it's easier because it's like you're already so open and so raw, so in some ways, it's easier to go into your heart and to go into these states.
Yeah,
But in some ways, it's more difficult to let yourself sit down and actually face your pain and face your grief. And that's part of the reason that we're here with you.
yeah, and I hope you all don't feel judged by us, right? I mean, like, when Leah says a lot of times you want to just have some distraction, like, hey, we feel that too, like there's no
Talking
judgment.
about myself.
Yeah,
So
sometimes we need a distraction, right? But like,
yeah.
meditation is a conscious decision to like really go deeply in yourself, right? And if you're
Mhm,
in pain, if you're in grief, what are you going to find there, right? I mean, you're going to find that it's going to hit you, real hard, right? I mean, it's going to be there. So, we're saying, look, you're not going to meditation for a distraction, right? You're going to
mhm,
meditation to empty those buckets, right? And meditation can be very effective for that, right? Because especially when you focus on your heart, right? You open your heart and you allow that feeling to deepen, to broaden, right? And what we're telling you is this seems to really help, right? I mean, like the pain of it changes in character, right? From, oh, me, I've lost. Oh, I'm so sad, right? I mean, you're still gonna feel pain, but it's a very different kind of pain, right? When you get into the connection, right? Um, all I can say is it feels very different, right?
mhm, mhm.
Um, so maybe we should try this out. We've talked about it a lot right
You
now.
gonna try it out? Okay.
Let's
You gonna
do some
try it
meditation
out? Yeah,
and
let's
and
definitely do some meditation.
and get into it. So,
Um,
we want to just get our upright meditation posture together here, right? Find a way that you can sit, which is where your body is upright, and your spine is ideally not touching the back of your chair, right? So that you have that energy. Okay, you want your body to be still, but you want to be energized, right? You need energy to really get into this state of meditation, right? So nice upright posture, but try to relax into it, right? So being able to sit, this is one of these skills in meditation. Um, when you tune into your breath and close your eyes and allow your body to be still. Your body wants to move. So instead of focusing on how your body wants to move, focus instead on your breath. And you're going to want to intervene in your breath in a very particular way. So the first thing you're going to do is to breathe deeply and expand your belly as you breathe in and contract your belly as you breathe out. So this is abdominal breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. You can place your hand on your belly to give yourself just a little extra sensation and make sure that your belly is moving as you breathe. A lot of times we breathe up in the chest, and this triggers the body's fight or flight response, which is called the sympathetic nervous system. We want to shift out of that. We want to shift into the parasympathetic nervous system. And shifting your breathing to your belly does this very powerfully. Now, we'd also like to make the breath slow. So just slow down your breathing, extend your breathing on the exhalation, breathe out more, and extend your breathing on the inhalation. Slow down your breath. So making your breath slow and deep really gives your body this message, right? Your body starts to settle down. And when your body settles down, your mind will follow. It might take a little while, but your mind follows. Your thoughts will become calmer. Now, we'd also like to make the breath rhythmic and heart-centered. So we can do this with one technique, and that is by tuning into the rhythm of your heartbeat and placing your breath in rhythm with that. So you might want to place your hand on your chest here, and so that you can better feel the beating of your heart. If you're having trouble feeling it, you can press with your fingertips on your breastbone and feel the pulse in your fingertips. Now, as you breathe, count the beats of your heart and breathe in the same number of beats as you breathe out. So you might try, for example, 8 beats in and 8 beats out. We're working on really perfecting the breath here. And the last step in this is to make your breath full. So full means you are breathing fully, using your full lung capacity. And this is going to require far more effort than you normally put into breathing. So it is the most difficult part of this method to really learn. You just do your best. And the way that you do it is as you breathe out, you really control on the exhalation and you really squeeze your abdominal muscles. And you're going to squeeze them much harder than you think you need to. And just picture your belly button moving toward your spine. Just compressing your your um, your core, breathing out all of the stale air, the stale breath that has been in your lungs. And then you're going to keep those muscles somewhat active as you move into the inhalation so that you don't allow the air to just rush all in. You control it so that the flow of breath is smooth. And then you expand, breathe into your belly, and then allow the breath to go up into your chest and expand your intercostal muscles and expand your ribs. And then you repeat the process. So your breath should be slow, it should be deep, it should be rhythmic, it should be heart-centered, and it should be full. Now, maybe I'm making this sound easy by just telling you to do it like this. It's not easy. It's a skill like any other skill. It takes time to master. So if you're struggling with it, that's okay. But you know, one of the good things about having this relatively difficult method for you to do is it gives you something to focus on. You focus your mind on it instead of your fears or your, you know, your disappointments or your anxieties or all of that, right? Now, when you've gotten your breath to a good state, really focus on the energy of your heart. And if you're feeling grief, you might feel that pain very keenly. You probably will. And with your breath, just try to go deeply into that. Just really focus on it, like Leah reminded us. It's no challenge to do that. You're already feeling that. It's already in your thoughts all the time. It's right there. Instead of keeping it at bay, instead of trying to keep a lid on it, now's a chance to just really feel it. Because now you have a wonderful resource. You have your breath, and your breath, if you're able to follow the steps that I've given you, your breath is really powerful now, right? In a wonderful place to allow you to hold this feeling. And instead of bouncing from it, as we so commonly do, we can just really be in it. Right? Instead of saying, denying it or minimizing it. How often do people do that? If you share with somebody the grief that you're in, the pain that they're in, how often do they sort of deny it in some way, right? Like they say, well, you'll get through it, or, something like this, right? They're trying to help, right? So, it's nice, and it's at the same time, it's annoying, right? Because um, it's easy for somebody who's outside of it, um, like if you in a horrible fall and you've broken several bones, like it's easy for somebody else to say, well, don't worry, you'll heal, right? Like, essentially, hopefully that's true. But like in the meantime, there's a lot of pain. So we want to just let that be. Use your breath here. Tune in and go deeper. Always go deeper. Now focus on the connection, right? Try to shift your experience from just being about you and the pain you're in. And instead, there's this connection that you have. And that connection is still living. That connection is within your heart and within the heart of the other. Feel that connection. Something that you both created. Something wonderful and beautiful. Something made from love. And even if the other one is gone, or gone for now, that connection is there. Or maybe just feel how this is broadening, right? There's more here than just you. And when you really explore that connection with your breath, you might find that's really the nature of our hearts, isn't it? Is to connect. We're always doing this, right? Why do we love stories and movies and books and what is it, this urge that we have to explore a different way of being and a different life, right? To connect with somebody else who has a different experience. So our hearts are connected. That's our natural state that comes from love. That is what our hearts are. That's our nature. really get into this and really explore it, that connection opens, becomes greater and greater. It's like a river that's flowing between the two of you, a river of light. When you really dive into that river and just let yourself be absorbed in it, you're going to find that that river of light is endless. It's so much bigger than just you or just your beloved. It is infinite and perfect and eternal. Because that's what love really is, right? Love is unlimited. And what a privilege it is to feel that coming through in a particular way with a particular person, giving us that feeling of connection, giving us that tangible physical experience of love, touching another being, being touched by them. What does it mean to broaden your experience and experience then a love that has always been and will always be a love that is perfect and unlimited, unbounded, eternal? The pain may still be there, probably it is, right? But it becomes a note in the symphony. It's not the only instrument that's playing anymore. Because when you dive into that river, you find there's joy there too. There's every feeling, really. Because feelings are not so separate and distinct as we like to imagine. In our minds, we put things in boxes and we say, this is this thing and this is this other thing, and they're very separate. Well, that makes as much sense as saying this part of the river is separate from that part of the river, like, yes, okay, the river has different features and whatever, right? There's different currents, but it's one thing. It's all blended together there. You want to explore it all, feel it all. Find yourself getting lost here, and always bring it back to the breath. Always bring it back to the heart. Place your hands on your heart. Find yourself getting spacey or feeling dissociated. Your hands on your heart gives you that physical sensation that reminds you that you're here. Your body is here. You're inhabiting your body at this time. All right, and when you're ready, then you end your meditation and open your eyes.
Mm. That was lovely, Asitar. Thank you.
Mhm.
It reminded me of how a lot of times when we lose someone, especially if it's like like a loss of a relationship, a change of relationship, for example, it can feel like that separateness from one's accessing love so substantially with another person, and the way that each of us are unique. So the way that person comes into our lives is going to have a unique stimuli. It's going to have a unique effect on us. They are a unique mirror. And so we can't necessarily get that mirror from anyone the same way that we can with that person. But it's like a lot of time when we get cut off from that mirror, it's like then we also shut the stream of love off in our hearts too.
Mm,
Um, and this is what really came up for me in the meditation you just guided, is how like it's like, yeah, because it's like we don't want to feel the pain, so then we cut everything off, and we end up cutting off this like stream of of love that we've experienced so strongly in ourselves. We end up cutting that off too because we can't bear the pain that comes with that. And so so it's really helpful if you're listening to this meditation and you are having grief right now, and you end up needing to cry in your meditations. That's perfectly okay. And to just let yourself breathe through that. And it's like you're not letting that stream of love get cut off inside you. So you still, that connection, like Asatar was saying, that connection is still there. And you're reopening that connection of love that exists inside your body, that exists inside you through your experience with this other person. And then so that state of connection, that state of flow. But then Asatar, he even went further. Asatar, you went further into, well, then there's the energy of love itself, the eternal love. And this is how a person goes through these stages of the concentration, flow, and then unity consciousness, is going inside of ourself, meeting what's there, meeting what's in the depth of our being, and then reopening these streams of love, these streams of connection we have with each other. But then even going deeper, it's like going another layer in,
right.
and oh, love itself is eternal. And that love itself is eternal, feeling that inside yourself because it's been experienced, it's been manifested through you and the connection you had with this other person or being.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to reiterate that for everybody that's listening in, to get these subtleties of how you can move through these stages. Even though we went through it pretty quickly in the meditation itself, like those are the distinguished stages that we can go through to be able to help ourselves. Because then, I'm sorry, I keep going, but just one last thing, like that when we connect in with that eternal love, that energy will expand inside of you, and it'll really help meet that pain, and it'll really help to bring healing into that space.
Absolutely. Hazrat Khan has a beautiful way of putting this. He says, we're never going to be satisfied in just loving one person, right? Because our hearts are love, and love is infinite, right? So we want to be loved eternally, right? We want to be loved endlessly. We want to be loved from all around, like this, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, this is sounding like some kind of polyamory thing. No, it's not like that, right? It's meaning like, you know, we long to experience that infinite, right? Even though our immediate experience of love is particular, right? Like it's like, with this person, this experience, this is the right, like, so we're like, our hearts are longing to take that and, like we're saying, right, dive into it and experience the infinite within the finite, because that's always there, right? That's always part of it, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. All right. Um, well, let's see here. We still have some time. Um, I'm wondering if I want to jump into the meditation next. What else would you like to say about this before we do that, Asatar?
Well, I mean, I just am noticing like with for myself, with what we talked about, I think, there's always like this, what we always do, like in every class, right? We always do some teaching, right? We do some sort of philosophizing. Here's the ideas,
Mhm.
right? And then we always like, well, let's practice it. Let's try it out. Let's try to experience it, right? And
Mhm.
because the ideas, are like, that's good, but like you have to actually, you have to build up the experience. Otherwise,
Mhm.
it's not the, um, it's not it's not reading some thoughts about love that you want, right? It's love, right? So
Right.
you want to actually experience the thing, the philosophy, to bring it to life. So I was just kind of noticing that, because here we said all this stuff, right? Like, oh, this changes the experience and broadens it and whatever. And I was just sort of tuning in, like, it has that been true for me,
Yeah.
like, because here we did
Yeah.
this meditation, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, it is, right? Like, I do feel that, I do feel. So I'm pleased to report that the stuff that we said seems to be true, at least for me.
Yes, yes. I hear
When you
you.
talk a lot,
Yeah.
there's a risk of BSing, like, and you always have
Yeah.
to sort of check
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it is important to distinguish what we're talking about here because we're very much not talking about escapism. Like we're not talking about escaping your grief or whatever you might be going through and going into this blissed out like, oh, like we're actually it's a whole other route. It's this ability to go so deep within your own being and to accept your own being so deeply that you are able to reach these states of unity consciousness. And I find honestly, I find that when we go through I don't want anyone to ever suffer. I don't like suffering. But like when we are going through some form of suffering, emotional suffering, our hearts are really open. And there is in that regard more access to this raw place inside of ourselves, almost like this epicenter inside of ourselves. It's just more accessible because it's been kind of the walls around it have been kind of shattered and
Hmm.
broken open. Um, and so, in that way, it is an opportunity to be able to really access more core parts of you. It's like these things that were part of your core have broken or shattered, and through that shattering, the light is able to come out even more. But it's like it's not in separation from the pain. Sometimes it's actually because of the pain. It wakes us up in deeper parts of ourselves that were never awake before. And that's the gift of meditation because like if we don't meditate, what ends up happening is like that pain needs a story and we end up doing all kinds of stuff with that story in our head.
Hmm.
And so in meditation, instead, you're going right to the source and you're finding what's inside of that source, what's underneath the pain. It's connection, what's underneath the connection, universal eternal love. And that's where we're going. That's where we're going with our meditations themselves. And that's like the brilliant thing about it. um, you end up you end up transforming through those experiences. It ends up changing you because you're able to integrate something so profound. Your heart grows in profound measures through these experiences.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Very, very, very true. I really love what you said. You said the pain needs a story, and like, what is the story here, right? Like,
mhm,
we're in this world of limitation, right? And but it's also an opportunity, right? Because like, our spirit is unbounded and eternal and pure and whatever, but our spirit has no form, right? Like when we enter the
mhm,
world of form, well, it's a world of limitation, right? And so limitation means we're going to experience loss, right? I mean, that's part of it, right? That's part of limitation. And um,
mhm,
but like, is that a moment of opportunity to then, explore the deeper nature that underlies this, right? That connection and that infinite quality that is also a part of ourselves, right? Like we're not
Mm,
just these bodies, right? We're not just these thoughts, right? We're not just these feelings, even. Um, there's a
mhm,
part of it that is unbounded and eternal, right? And that's a part that we're longing for, but it's also one that we so often miss, or we don't have we don't have a way of like experiencing that, right? So, this is, just another way of saying what we're trying to do here in meditation,
mhm.
to experience that part of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. And I like the way that you've been breaking it down, because it is very much like we are coming up against our limitation in these situations. I always think of the terms reconciled at irreconcilable, you know? Um, and the work that we do inside of ourselves, like that's what allows us to go back out in the world and have an impact. It's like this integration of these different layers of ourselves is what will allow us to have better integration with other people around us, and that will ripple out from us into others as well. But
Hmm.
there's so much inside this world, inside existence, that is irreconcilable. There's so much of that. And it's like, where's that fire inside of you that won't go out? Where's the light inside you that never goes out? And that's what's important in these moments of coming up against things that are irreconcilable, coming up against things that you can't necessarily know the answer to or know how to fix, or maybe even not even one life isn't sufficient. Like, in other words, like, with bigger movements, it might take thousands upon thousands of people to actually make a change. And I believe that too, even with the world of love, you know, the ability to forgive someone that's no longer with you, the grief of a loss of, relationship, when you don't lose the person to the physical world, like the ability just to just to be able to go through the process inside yourself and not cut off a very specific part of your heart in order to move on.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is profound. And it's this type of work that really does make progress within your own being, but then within everybody else that's inside of your heart as well. Um,
Mm.
so, and it's again, it comes back to like, where's that light inside? There, it's always there. And so coming back to it and being able to find it amidst the storms and amidst the chaos. So let's go ahead and meditate a little bit
Right.
before we close for the evening. And so, as you close your eyes, if you are experiencing grief right now, just know that even just showing up is enough, that you don't have to do anything, that you are already enough. And if you are experiencing grief and you are sitting with that grief in this moment, I want to congratulate you and really tell you that I very much honor you. And you can do anything you need. And part of just closing your eyes and looking inside is figuring out exactly what that might be. What do you need? Your breath, your full breath will help you to process your emotions. And so, as you're ready, when you're ready, deepen your breathing. And you use your breath to meet whatever's inside, whatever's stirring in the depth of your heart. You use your breath to help you meet it. Your breath is washing it. Your breath is energizing what needs to be energized. Your breath is soothing and bringing nourishment. And by having really deep, full breathing into your belly, By having a full breath in and a full breath out, you are starting to balance your whole system, helping your whole system sort and reorganize, this restructuring, this rebirth of your own being, of your own self, of your own understanding and experience of existence. This first step, is really that concentration again. And why are you concentrating on this part of you? Because of love, because you love yourself, because you love being alive, because life is giving you the opportunity to experience itself in your form. And so, this first step of concentrating on what's going on, what's stirring in the depths of your heart, it's an act of love, it's an act of self love. And when you start to breathe into that which is stirring in the depth of your heart, this is an act of self acceptance. You're feeling what's there and you're breathing with it. You're not trying to disregard it. You're not trying to discourage it. You're breathing right into it. I'm with you. I accept what's happening inside of me. This is a part of my experience of life. And you breathe into it again. Just breathe right into whatever is stirring, meeting it with really deep reverence and deep love, deep honoring. So this could already be plenty. This could already be enough for you, and you just stay right with this part of things. Just breathing into what you're feeling inside. Sometimes I'd have to spend hours breathing into my pain. That's how deep it went. Just breathing, just letting it process inside me. We want to rush our healing, but we can't rush our healing. And so you stay with yourself, you honor yourself, you accept what's happening inside of you, beloved one. But so this process of feeling our pain, our grief, the depth of our heart as it stirs with longing, that's just the first step. The feeling to heal it is just the first step. You're feeling it, but then you have this option. After you've processed enough of it, you have this option to then invoke that which you want to unite with, that which you want to go towards. And so, underneath of the pain is the connection, the love, the deep, profound love. That love that exists inside of you always. And if you keep going further, you can unite yourself with that energy of love more and more by making it grow inside of you, by inviting it in with every breath you take and letting it expand inside of you with every breath as well. Every cycle of breath, it expands and it gets bigger. This energy of love where it all started. And I'm going to do a very subtle sound. It's called Hu. It's spelled Hu. And it's this sound that really brings us back to the presence without any direction, presence without any direction, presence that exists on all levels. So it's like going to the original presence of your own self, that flame inside you that's ever burning. And it's just very subtle. It sounds just like the breath. It's like, so it just sounds like an audible breath, or it's almost like the wind in the ocean at the same time. It's just a very subtle breath. And I want to invite you, if you like to do this breath with me and have this feeling that you're blowing this ever present energy right through your mind and right into and through your pain, and it just blows and washes presence into all the all the cracks, all the spaces inside of us that are aching with separation. That you are held, that you are connected eternally within a loving enfoldment with a presence that is everlasting. All right, and then as you're ready, go ahead and move your body and open up your eyes. And that's all we have time for this evening, everyone.
We're going to end up being blasted out of the water right there. Wonderful. Well, next week we will bring it all together in a new way that you can rely on, friends. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and hope to see you all again.
Yeah, keep practicing, everyone. Much love.